Welcome to the Crack Podcast, everyone. And we're really glad you're here for this intensive look at the materials you shared with us. Today, we're zeroing in on something pretty universal, right? Challenges. Specifically, how we can maybe stop running from problems and, start facing them in a more systematic way. You know that feeling, the moment life throws something unexpected at you. Maybe a work crisis, a money issue, or just a big change. Most of us get hit with this wave of worry. But the sources we looked at, they really push back against that reflex. They suggest something powerful, that a problem isn't actually there to break you. It shows up, they argue, specifically to make you, stronger, wiser, and sharper than you were before. Okay, let's unpack this. Because the real mission here, in this deep dive, it isn't just about listing 7 tips. It's about fundamentally rewiring how we react by default. We're looking for those simple, actionable truths hidden inside all the complex, messy stuff life throws at us. The big goal. Shifting that internal voice from that kind of weak, defeated, why me? Why is this happening? To something much more powerful.
Like a clear statement. I will handle this. I will solve this.
And that shift in mindset, it's immediately relevant for you, the learner. Because really, it's the difference between constantly just reacting to things and mastering them strategically. So if you're getting ready for a big meeting, or maybe trying to figure out a tricky financial decision, or even just wanting to learn something new faster, these ideas are basically your blueprint. They're habits, repeatable habits, designed to give you quick, but also thorough control when things get difficult.
Yeah, the central idea, the thread running through all these resources, is that, truly strong people, they're not the ones who somehow avoid problems. That's just not reality. Strong people are the ones who've deliberately learned how to face complexity calmly.
Calmly, right?
And how to solve it smartly. So today, we've pulled out 7 critical shifts in mindset and in action. And these are designed to help you turn pretty much any challenge you face from feeling like a threat into, an opportunity for some pretty deep growth. Okay, so we have to start right at the beginning, don't we? That moment of impact. A problem pops up, an unexpected bill lands, or you get that email. What happens inside? For most people, the mind just goes fuzzy, right? Heart starts racing. You immediately jump to the worst possible outcome.
Absolutely.
Catastrophizing.
Yeah, exactly. And that flood of adrenaline, it's normal, biologically speaking, but it's pretty much the worst state to be in if you actually want to find a solution.
It really is. We have to talk about the neurobiology first, because if you don't get a handle on the physical reaction, you just can't control the outcome effectively. When fear hits, your amygdala, that's like the brain's alarm system, just takes over. Fight or flight kicks in. And what that does physiologically is it pulls resources, blood flow, away from your prefrontal cortex.
Which is the thinking part of the brain.
Exactly. That's your hub for rational thought, planning, solving complex problems. So when it's offline or running on low power, basically a mind under high stress is quite literally less capable of complex thought. It's wired to just run or fight. So when the source material says a stressed mind cannot find solutions, it's not just being dramatic. The physical resources you need for solving have been sort of hijacked by the panic response.
So the first concrete action then, it's about immediate regulation, getting your body back under control. This isn't just, feel-good advice. It's a deliberate technique.
Precisely. It's a cognitive override. So the very first step, before you fire off the angry email or make a snap decision, is simple physical regulation. Stay calm, or rather, get calm. Take a slow, deep breath. Really feel it go down into your diaphragm. Consciously relax your shoulders. People hold so much tension there.
Oh, definitely.
And then state an affirmation. Something simple but powerful works best. Like, I am in control. I will solve this. Or even just, I am safe right now. This basically sends a signal to your nervous system that the immediate threat level is manageable. And that allows the thinking part, the prefrontal cortex, to come back online.
Okay, but hang on. Isn't there a bit of a tension here? It's like, if you're facing a really serious problem, maybe a tight deadline, your gut instinct screams, move, faster, panic now. But the advice here is the complete opposite. Pause, breathe, think slowly. If the problem's time-sensitive, doesn't pausing just waste precious time?
That's a brilliant point, and it really gets to the heart of the paradox. The time you think you're wasting by pausing and breathing, it's actually repaid almost instantly by the increased speed and, importantly, the quality of your thinking afterwards. See, panic might make you move fast, sure, but it often makes you move wrong. You make mistakes, you overlook things, and that ultimately costs you more time fixing those errors later.
Okay, so frantic action isn't necessarily productive action.
Exactly. Emotions amplify problems. They don't solve them.
Yeah.
Think about that analogy you mentioned, the glass of water. It works really well here. Imagine your mind is that glass of water. If it's calm, settled, clear, you can easily see the solution, maybe like a little pebble sitting at the bottom. But if you shake that glass violently, that's the stress response, the panic, the water gets all muddy, cloudy, opaque.
You can't see anything clearly.
Right, you might be moving the glass around really fast, shaking it like mad, but you can't actually see the path forward. You can't even see the pebble anymore. So that pause, breathe, think slowly habit, it's just about letting the mud settle, waiting for clarity. It ensures that when you do act, you're bringing your sharpest, most rational mind to the situation, not your most reactive, panicked one. It's foundational.
Okay, so if calmness lays the foundation for clear thinking, then strategy. That's the structure we build on top of it, right? Now, that feeling of being overwhelmed, the thing that often keeps us totally stuck, it usually comes from seeing a challenge as just one giant scary mountain.
Yeah.
Whether it's, paying off a big debt or getting some huge professional qualification or dealing with a major family drama, it just feels too big.
Yeah, and that feeling of overwhelm, it's not just emotional, it's psychological. When our brain perceives a task as too large, too complex, it calculates the energy needed as almost infinite.
And then just shuts down.
Pretty much. Decision paralysis kicks in. But the sources offer this incredibly liberating idea. No big problem actually requires one single massive solution. Every problem that feels insurmountable is, in reality, solvable by breaking it down, breaking it into manageable, even tiny pieces.
The staircase analogy.
Exactly, the staircase analogy. It's simple, but it's powerful because it directly addresses that fear of the overall height, the bigness of the task.
Right.
You wouldn't try to leap to the top floor of a building, right? You climb one step at a time.
Makes sense.
And when you successfully break down a huge problem into these small chunks, you get like 3 immediate wins. First, the cognitive load lightens. The problem just feels less heavy in your mind. Second, you start seeing progress almost immediately, which is huge for morale. And third, you gain this compounding confidence with every little step you complete. And that confidence fuels the next step. It creates momentum.
Okay, let's get practical. If someone listening right now is facing one of those big, scary mountains, how do they actually start breaking it down? What are the mechanics?
Right, good question. First step, reframe the question. You have to stop asking that paralyzing question, how on earth do I solve everything? That just freezes you. Immediately, consciously switch to an action-focused question like, what is the very first small thing I can realistically do in, say, the next 30 minutes? That shift takes you out of fearful thinking and into immediate contained action.
And the second mechanical step involves getting it out of your head.
Absolutely crucial. Writing for clarity. A problem always feels like 10 times bigger when it's just bouncing around inside your skull, caught in that loop of panic and worry.
Yeah, it just echoes.
It does. So you must pull it out, grab a piece of paper, open a notes app, whatever works, and write the problem down clearly. Just the act of doing that starts to move it from being this internal chaotic feeling to an external, more objective thing you can look at.
Okay, so it's written down. Now what?
And now you define 3 key things. First, what exactly is the issue? Be super specific. No vague descriptions. Second, what are the main factors contributing to it? Why is this happening? Understanding the why can help. And third, and this is maybe the most critical part, what specific tangible actions related to this problem are actually under my immediate control right now?
Separating the controllables from the uncontrollables.
Yes, this is vital for conserving your energy. Don't waste time stressing about things you genuinely cannot influence. Focus only on where you can act.
Okay, so let's take an example. A big learning goal. Maybe mastering some complex new software for work or learning a new language. How does the division work there?
Great example. So the big scary goal is, I need to become proficient in complex skill X. That feels huge, right?
That's so.
The division strategy turns this into a series of totally achievable micro goals. Like, okay, today my only job is to watch the first 5 minutes of the introductory tutorial.
That's it.
That's it for today. Or maybe today I will just write down 3 key terms or functions related to this goal. Tomorrow, my task is to spend just 10 minutes actively practicing that one function I learned about. See, we've taken this impossible mountain
And turned it into a tiny little hill for today.
Exactly. A 10-minute task. And this structure, this breakdown, it works for anything. Making one difficult phone call about a debt, organizing just one drawer in a messy room, reading just one page of a dense technical paper.
And you mentioned this feeds into something you call the momentum equation.
Yeah. It's simple logic, really. Small steps are, by definition, easy to start.
Right, low barrier to entry.
Exactly. Because they're easy to start, they're also much easier to continue doing. You don't dread it as much. And because they're easy to continue, success achieving the larger goals starts to feel less like a distant hope and more like an inevitable outcome of consistent effort. The consistency itself becomes the driving force.
That's a really important point about consistency versus intensity, because sometimes people start with small steps, but they get discouraged when they only see tiny progress. They feel like they should be moving faster, making bigger leaps.
Oh, absolutely. That's a common trap. We have to remind ourselves. Slow progress is not only still progress, it's often the most sustainable and durable kind of progress.
Sustainable, okay.
If you're moving slowly, chances are you're moving steadily. And steady movement builds strength over time. Great lasting changes almost always require time. You can't rush foundational work. Think about that river analogy again. How does a river carve through solid rock?
Not by sudden force, but by constant flow over a long time.
Precisely. It's the consistent, relentless effort over an immense period.
Yeah.
Your job as the problem solver is to embody that same relentless consistency. Just keep flowing, don't stop.
Okay, and one last piece for this section. The psychological fuel to keep that consistency going. Celebrating the small wins.
Yes, and this is so often dismissed as like fluffy self-help stuff, but it has real neurological weight.
How so?
When you complete even a tiny micro task, making that phone call, reading that one page, you have to consciously acknowledge it. It doesn't need to be a big party.
Yeah.
Just a moment of internal recognition, a mental pat on the back. Okay, I got that done. Good job. That simple act triggers a small but crucial release of dopamine in your brain. And that dopamine hit creates a positive feedback loop. It associates the effort, the small step, with the reward. Feeling good, feeling accomplished. This strengthens the habit.
And if you skip that acknowledgement,
If you skip it, your brain basically registers the effort as unrewarded, maybe even pointless. And then starting the next small step feels harder, requires more willpower. So yeah, absolutely celebrate those small victories. They are literally the fuel you need for the next action. All right, so we've calmed ourselves down, we've broken the problem into steps. Now we need to address the ongoing conversation, the one happening inside our own heads. The language you use, how you talk to yourself about the problem fundamentally steers your direction. Complaining, that's just a reaction. It drains energy. Questioning, on the other hand, is action. It creates energy.
we all do it though, don't we? Fall into complaining, especially when we're tired or frustrated. We say things like, nothing ever works out for me, or why is my life always so hard? It feels like it gives a bit of relief in the moment, maybe. But yeah, long term, it's pretty weakening.
It's incredibly debilitating because those kinds of emotional sweeping complaints, they basically embed the idea that you're a victim. They make the problem seem permanent and make you feel powerless.
So complaining is like giving your power away to the situation.
Exactly that. You're essentially saying, this circumstance is bigger than me. Whereas structured, solution-focused questions, they immediately start pulling that power back to you.
Okay, let's dig into the mechanics a bit. How does complaining actually stop you from finding solutions?
Well, think about where your focus goes. When you're complaining, you're focusing entirely on the pain, the injustice, the negative aspects of the situation. And there's that key insight. Where focus goes, energy flows. If all your mental bandwidth is tied up in dwelling on how bad things are,
There's no energy left to look for a way out.
precisely, your brain literally starts allocating resources to explore potential solutions. Complaining acts like a cognitive block. It shuts down the problem-solving parts. The smart shift, the powerful move, is to acknowledge the feeling, yes, this is difficult, yes, I'm frustrated, but then immediately pivot. Don't just say, I can't handle this. Pivot to asking, okay, how can I handle this?
That shift from I can't to how can I? It seems subtle, but it's huge.
It's fundamental because I can't suggests a fixed state, a lack of ability. It's like a closed door. But how can I implies a process is needed. It assumes ability, but acknowledges a method needs to be found. It opens the door. That simple change in phrasing instantly switches your brain from a fixed mindset where abilities are static to a growth mindset where challenges are solvable with the right approach. It unlocks creativity.
So we need some default questions then. Things we can train ourselves to ask automatically when things get tough to break that complaining cycle.
Yes, absolutely. The sources suggest a few non-negotiables. First, what is the single most constructive action, even a tiny one, that I can take right now? Focus on immediate action. Second, what resources or options do I currently have available to me, no matter how small they seem? Take stock of your assets. And third, Who, specifically, might have successfully navigated a problem like this before, and how can I learn from them or get their advice? Look for existing solutions.
That last one connects to leveraging others, which we'll get to. These questions pull you out of the emotional swamp and into practical analysis.
Exactly. And related to this is the idea of focusing on your locus of control. We waste so much energy worrying about things we absolutely cannot change.
Right, blaming the economy or someone else's behavior.
You need to conduct a ruthless audit, really. Look at the situation and ask, what parts of this are truly within my immediate control? Usually it's your actions, your attitude, how you spend your time, the effort you put in, your habits, your response to events.
Those are always controllable.
Always. Everything else, other people's choices, past events, global situations, categorize that mentally as external noise. Stop pouring your precious mental energy into things you can't influence. Apply your power only within your actual sphere of control. That's the core of psychological resilience.
And this focus on control, on what you can do, helps cultivate what the materials call the warrior mindset. It's that choice point. Do I stay down or do I rise?
That is the fundamental choice, isn't it? We have to consciously, deliberately replace that weak, self-pitying question, why me, with a much stronger, almost defiant stance. Try me.
Try me. I like that.
It acknowledges that, yes, life will throw punches, obstacles are inevitable, but your response is always your choice. You can complain, stay stuck, feel resentful, or you can choose to adapt, grow, and rise above it. That shift in posture literally builds a more resilient identity over time. And part of that rising involves asking learning questions. If a problem keeps showing up, or if you've hit a significant wall, it's carrying a lesson for you. So ask, what is this difficulty trying to teach me? What weakness in my approach or gap in my knowledge did this challenge just expose? What mistake do I need to make sure I don't repeat?
So the obstacle becomes tuition, not tragedy.
Beautifully put. It stops being just a painful event and becomes valuable data for future improvement.
Okay, and to wrap up this section, this idea of being future forward.
Right. Don't get anchored to yesterday's mistakes or even today's pain. Strong people, effective people, are fundamentally builders. Their focus is on the horizon. Keep asking, what's the next best action for my long-term future? This maintains forward momentum. And crucially, circling back to that third question, remember that asking for help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It shows you value efficiency and speed. The person smart enough to ask, who's already solved this, is usually the one who gets through the maze fastest.
Okay, so let's say we've managed our emotions, we've broken the problem down, we're asking better questions. What's the next barrier? Often it's just not starting. Inertia. And here's where it gets really interesting, because the sources argue that the biggest reason smart, capable people stay stuck isn't that they lack good ideas, it's that they get paralyzed by overthinking.
Oh, this is such a critical point. It's almost a modern epidemic, the paralysis of analysis. You see so many brilliant people who think and plan and research and refine and worry endlessly, but they never actually do anything.
They're stuck in the what ifs.
Exactly. Paralyzed by, what if I fail? What if it's not perfect? What if people criticize it? And the fundamental truth we have to grasp is incredibly simple. Thinking generates ideas. Thinking feels productive, but only action creates actual results in the real world.
So overthinking feels safe, maybe, like you're still working on the
It
problem.
feels safe, yes. It mimics the feeling of progress because your brain is engaged. But in reality, overthinking is usually just a delay tactic. It's driven by fear of failure, fear of judgment. And here's the kicker. Overthinking actually builds more fear and procrastination, whereas action, even tiny, imperfect action, builds real-world confidence and gathers actual data, experience.
This links directly to the perfectionism trap, doesn't it? That feeling that everything has to be perfectly planned, the timing has to be perfect.
Perfectionism is almost always procrastination in disguise. It's often the ego trying to protect itself. If I never launch the imperfect plan, I never have to risk failure or criticism.
Right, the defense mechanism.
Totally. But successful people, people who actually get things done, understand. You don't wait for perfection. It never arrives. You start with what you have right now, imperfectly. You don't figure everything out before you start moving. You figure things out while you are moving. The action itself generates the feedback you need to adjust course.
So the emphasis isn't on taking massive, perfectly calculated leaps. It's on the consistency of small actions again.
Absolutely. One small, maybe even messy 5-minute action, sending that one awkward email, reading just one page, making that one phone call, that single action is infinitely more powerful than 10 hours spent in perfect internal deliberation without movement.
Wow. Infinitely more powerful.
Because it breaks the inertia. It creates reality. Success isn't born from one giant flawless leap. Success is the cumulative result of thousands of small, often imperfect, steps taken daily, relentlessly.
Okay, but if we start taking action, especially imperfect action, we will make mistakes.
Yeah.
How do we need to shift our relationship with making mistakes?
The sources are really clear on this, unequivocal. Mistakes are not failure. They are simply data.
Data points.
Exactly. The only true failure is doing nothing, staying stuck in inaction. Mistakes are just real-world feedback showing you what doesn't work, so you can adjust and try something else. Your core commitment needs to shift away from, I must always be right, or I must avoid all errors, towards something like, I'd rather try, learn from the feedback, even if it feels like a mistake, and iterate, than do absolutely nothing and live with the deep regret of stagnation.
Because every action gives you experience.
Invaluable experience, the kind that pure thought, no matter how refined, can never provide.
So for the listener who feels that inertia right now, that hesitation just before starting something they know they need to do, how do they bypass that part of the brain that starts making excuses and finding reasons not to act?
Ah, yes. The internal lawyer who argues for inaction. We need a hack for that. A way to short-circuit the overthinking before it takes hold. This is where that technique, often called the 5-second rule, comes in. The idea is based on neuroscience. When you have an instinct to act on a goal or take a needed step.
Like sending that email or getting up to exercise or starting a difficult conversation.
Exactly. You have about a 5-second window before your prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain, kicks in and starts generating all the sophisticated reasons not to do it. It raises objections, fears, doubts.
That creates that cognitive blockage.
Yeah.
Paralysis.
Right. So to bypass that internal debate, you use a simple physical trigger. The moment you feel that instinct to act, you mentally count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 1, go. And on go, you physically move. You stand up, you pick up the phone, you type the first word of the email, you initiate physical movement before your brain has a chance to talk you out of it.
It's a launch sequence for action.
It is. It's a tool to override that executive dysfunction, that hesitation, and just start. Because ultimately, problems aren't solved by thinking about them over and over. They're solved by consistent forward movement, even aggressive movement sometimes. So the mantra becomes less fear, less delay, more action, more progress.
Okay, moving on. Let's look at the next couple of pillars. These are really about building the endurance needed for the long haul. Tip number 5 is leveraging others. This one boils down to humility and, honestly, efficiency. Why would you struggle alone for weeks or even months wrestling with a problem that someone else has likely already figured out?
I think sometimes people feel like asking for help means they're not smart enough or capable enough on their own. It feels like admitting weakness.
Yeah, that's a common misconception, but the sources really frame it the other way around. Asking for help, seeking guidance, it's actually a sign of strategic intelligence.
Because wise people, effective people, recognize a simple truth. Nobody knows everything. And accepting that isn't a weakness, it's a strength. It opens you up to learning. When you're facing something complex, often the most efficient, fastest path forward is to actively seek out mentorship, or read books by experts, or watch tutorials from people who have already walked the path you're on.
So you avoid reinventing the wheel.
Exactly. You're not just avoiding potentially costly mistakes they already made, you're also dramatically compressing the learning curve. You might gain insights in hours that took them years to figure out. The real strength lies in being able to say, honestly, you know what? I don't have all the answers here, and that's okay. I'm ready to learn. That mindset just accelerates your development massively. It ensures you're using the best tools available, not just the ones you figured out in isolation.
That makes perfect sense. And it sets up tip 6 really well, which is about maintaining hope and resilience. Because even if you have the best strategy and you're learning from others, some problems are just long. A major career transition, dealing with a chronic illness, digging out of deep financial trouble.
Yeah.
These things can really grind you down over time.
That emotional wear and tear, that attrition, it's incredibly dangerous because negativity, sustained pessimism, it acts almost like a mental toxin. It weakens the mind, makes it harder to think clearly, dulls your creativity, and literally prevents you from seeing potential solutions that might be right in front of you. If you lose hope, you stop taking action. And if you stop taking action, the problem wins.
So maintaining hope isn't about pretending the problem doesn't exist. It's not naive optimism.
Not at all. It's not delusion. It's a strategic belief. It's the core belief that you possess or can develop the capacity to handle the situation, step by manageable step, until you reach a resolution. That underlying belief is what provides the sustained energy, the courage to keep moving forward, even when the situation feels incredibly heavy or progress seems slow.
And protecting that hope, keeping it alive, requires managing both our internal dialogue and our external environment, right?
Absolutely. You have to guard your peace fiercely on both fronts. Internally, that means practicing self-compassion. Talk to yourself kindly. Remind yourself repeatedly if necessary. This situation is difficult, but it's temporary. I have the strength, I have a system, I will get through this.
Tending to your own emotional state.
Exactly. And externally, you need to be just as vigilant. You have to ruthlessly curate your environment. This means minimizing exposure to relentlessly negative people.
The chronic complainers, the cynics.
The fearmongers. Those interactions just drain your limited emotional resources. Instead, you need to actively seek out and surround yourself with people who offer strength, support, encouragement, people who hold a positive vision for you.
So protect your inner state and your outer circle.
Yes, because a hopeful heart, one that's protected and nourished, it always retains the ability to see possibilities. It keeps searching for a way. And eventually, it finds one.
All right, we've arrived at the final pillar. And the sources suggest this might be the most fundamental shift of all. Maybe the most psychologically challenging, too. It's the principle of ownership, taking responsibility. Because let's be honest, when something goes wrong, that first, almost automatic human reflex is often to look outwards, to find blame. It's not my fault, or life's just unfair, or the system is rigged against me.
That temptation to externalize blame is incredibly powerful, isn't it? And there's a reason for it. Blaming someone or something else provides this instant, momentary relief from the internal pressure, from the discomfort of the situation.
It feels good for a second.
It does. The psychological relief can be immense, but the long-term cost is absolutely devastating to your progress and your power. Because here's the critical link. When you externalize the cause of your problem, you simultaneously, unconsciously externalize the solution.
Meaning?
Meaning, if you decide they're the reason for your problem, then they have to change before your situation can improve. If the system is the problem, then the system has to change first. If it's bad luck, then you need luck to change.
You've given your power away.
Completely. You become dependent on external factors changing, factors you likely have zero control over before you can move forward. You're waiting for the world to fix itself for you.
Okay, so here's the really sharp distinction the sources make, the one that's crucial for listeners to internalize. A problem might genuinely not be your fault. You could be the innocent victim of truly awful circumstances or someone else's bad actions. That can be objectively true. But the act of solving that problem, moving forward from it, that must become your responsibility.
That is it. That's the absolute core of personal power, maturity, and strength. Only a strong person makes that conscious separation. This wasn't my fault, but fixing it or navigating through it is my job now. And when you embrace that radical responsibility, it fundamentally changes who you are. It builds resilience, confidence, maturity, actual strength, because you stop waiting to be rescued. You start mobilizing your own resources, your own agency.
Blame keeps you a victim.
Exactly. Blame creates and reinforces a victim identity. It might offer a sliver of comfort in the moment, but it locks you into powerlessness long term. Responsibility, on the other hand, cultivates a successful, proactive identity. It might feel harder initially, but it delivers success and control for life.
So let's make this practical. If someone listening is feeling really angry or wronged about a situation right now, maybe they lost their job unfairly or someone betrayed them, how do they make that mental shift to taking responsibility without feeling like they're letting the person or system off the hook?
That's a great question. The key is to separate the past event from future action. Your anger, your sense of injustice, those feelings are valid. Acknowledge them. Don't suppress them. But your actions must be forward-looking. Operationalize responsibility by asking relentlessly, okay, I cannot change what happened back there, but what actions are entirely within my control right now? Given the situation as it is today, how can I use the resources I do have to move forward from this exact spot? You always, always retain power over your attitude, your choices, and your next actions, no matter how unfair the starting point was. Focus exclusively there.
This loops back perfectly to that learning mindset we talked about earlier. Instead of getting stuck repeating, this is so unfair.
The responsible person learns to ask, okay, this is unfair, Andy. What is this situation forcing me to learn or develop? Is it patience? Is it financial discipline? Is it resilience? Is it the need to build new skills? Every difficult situation is like a demanding teacher. When you embrace the difficulty as a lesson, even a harsh one, you stop seeing it solely as a punishment. You shift from being someone life happens to someone who actively extracts growth from whatever life throws at you.
And finally, this links to a kind of radical independence, doesn't it?
It does. The sources really push this. Don't build your recovery plan based on the assumption that others will rush in to help or save you. Hope for support, welcome it if it comes, but don't make it a prerequisite for your own action. Your internal stance needs to be, I am starting this, I will move forward using my own steam right now. If help or resources arrive later, fantastic, I'll integrate them. If not, I will still continue.
Because your future is built by your choices.
Your future is built by your choices, your actions, your ownership, not by luck, not by chance, not by waiting for external conditions to become perfect. Problems don't define you. Your response to them defines you. The ultimate declaration is, I take charge of my life starting now. #tag outro stamp.
So, okay, we've covered a lot of ground. What does this all really mean for you, the listener? Well, it means you now have this powerful systematic guide, 7 pillars really, for turning pretty much any challenge you encounter into an engine for your own growth. You've got the tools to shift from being a problem warrior to becoming a proactive problem solver. Let's just lock in those principles one last time. First, stay calm. Regulate yourself first to think clearly. Second, break it down. Make the mountain into small, climbable steps. Third, ask better questions. Shift from complaining to constructive inquiry. Fourth, prioritize action over analysis. Remember, movement creates results, not just thinking. Fifth, leverage others. Learn from those who've been there to speed things up. Sixth, maintain hope. Protect your peace and believe in your ability to get through it. And seventh, maybe the most crucial anchor. Take radical responsibility. Own your response. Own your future, no matter what happened in the past.
Yeah, and if you genuinely start to weave these 7 habits into how you react day to day, truly, no problem will feel insurmountable for very long. It changes the game. Every difficulty you face, when you process it through this kind of system, it doesn't just get solved. It actually makes you mentally tougher, strategically sharper. And remember this final thought, this provocation perhaps. Problems are not punishments sent to break you. Think of them more as preparation. Preparation for the next level of your life. They arrive to test you, yes, but also to forge the capabilities you'll need for what's coming next. The goal isn't really to somehow escape all challenges. That's impossible. The real goal is to develop the inner strength and the outer system required to overcome them consistently and effectively. And that strength you need, it's not going to magically appear from outside. It's already inside you, maybe dormant, but it's there. The only thing separating you from tapping into it and succeeding is your choice right now to use this system, to face the problem head on, step by calculated step.
That really is the essential takeaway, isn't it? The power is in the choice to act using these principles. So we'll leave you with this final question to mull over. What is the one small, concrete step, something you can do today, maybe even right now, that starts building the future you actually want? Thank you so much for going on this deep dive with us today. We really hope this conversation gave you some clarity, maybe some strength, or just a different way to think about the challenges in your own life. If it did, if you found value here, please take a second to hit that like button right now. It really helps us out. And make sure you subscribe to the channel so